Hey guys, Todd James here. This is the third part and hopefully the last part for a while, but the third part of my series answering questions that viewers have sent in and some of my students have sent in. And I just thought as long as I'm here in front of the camera, I might as well go ahead and answer the rest of these that I have available right now. And some of these questions have been really good. And I just wanted to point out that, I'm not trying to be vague in any response I give. But I try to be cautious. I'm not here to tell anyone how to live or how they should approach things. All I can do is just offer the benefit of my experience. So, I'm not trying to give advice. I'm just trying to tell you, what I went through. How I handled things, where it's put me in the world in terms of philosophy now about how I approach business. And, I just say this in response to someone that asked a question about why am I always talking about making the world a better place. And, I don't see business and capitalism in general as being as being tools to make the world a worse place. I think there are certainly businesses out there that, through their actions or through their behavior, they are destructive. They can be destructive to the environment. They can be destructive to, society. There are any number of ways that business can be bad. But I'm looking to engage with my businesses. I'm just looking to engage with someone who has a need, and I'm looking to fulfill that need, whether that need is information or a physical product. I'm really looking to fill a void and to provide a service to an individual that they are in need of. I don't see sales. At one point in life, I thought being a salesman was just the lowest form of human scum. But then I started really thinking in terms of sales as being a facilitator. So I'm not, trying to force something down anyone's throat. I'm merely trying to provide you with options, provide you with solutions to problems or issues that you may have. And, so certainly in my adult life, my opinion of salespeople has changed dramatically. Again, there are good salespeople and there are bad salespeople, but a good salesperson is a tremendous resource and is someone that can help you make good decisions, whether you're buying a car, or you're buying a house, or you're, looking to start, e-commerce, what have you. There's always a good side and a bad side, and I prefer to be on the good side of that. I want to make the world a better place. I know I'm not all powerful, so it's not like I can snap my fingers and just have things all of a sudden, fix world hunger or end all wars. But to the extent that I can, I want to make the interactions I have with other people productive for all involved, all parties involved, and it's just kind of my personal philosophy. So, I don't see business as being made up of winners and losers. I see, an ideal business transaction as being, a transaction between equals and a transaction where both parties can benefit in a way that makes them happy. There's kind of this joke I've had with people over the years. When I was giving in-person seminars, and I did that for 15 years or so. There I am in a hotel ballroom, typically in front of anywhere from 200 to 600 people, and I'm talking to them just the way I'm talking to you right now. I used to tell people that when I see them at the mall, I don't want to have to run and hide behind a column or a pillar somewhere or a clothing rack. I don't want to ever take somebody down a path that is going to be harmful to them. And so far in my life, I can tell you I've never had that situation where I've had to run from anybody. And I like that, so I want to keep it that way. one of my words of advice to people that are starting out on Amazon FBA or Amazon in general is just follow the rules, the terms of service. Amazon has, you could take all those pages and all those words, print them out, press them up into an ice ball, and throw them in a fireplace, because all it really means is don't screw over your customers. Be fair, be honest, and don't take advantage of people. And that's really all they're after. They just want to have a fair marketplace. It's to Amazon's benefit. It's to the benefit of other people doing business on Amazon. And as long as you just are fair and honest, you'll never have a problem with Amazon. All these videos out here talking about account suspensions and whatnot, to the contrary, if you treat people fairly on Amazon, Amazon will be fair to you and you'll never have a problem. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to finish up this list that my office manager sent me, or tried to. There were some different kind of questions here. I tried to pick out what I thought were the more important questions in the first two episodes of the series. But I'll just go ahead and start with this one. Do I recommend a minimalist lifestyle? I don't recommend any lifestyle. I think how you live is completely up to you, and as long as you can maintain the lifestyle that you want, and do so in a way that doesn't cause you physical harm or doesn't hurt other people, then my gosh, if you want to live in a penthouse apartment with a helipad on top, go right ahead. Or if you want to live, out of the back of a van and travel around the country, then hey, more power to you. Whatever you choose to do. I think this question, I'm kind of guessing here, but I think this question may have come about because some of the things I've said. I was much more of an accumulator of stuff when I was in my 20s and 30s. And then I realized that some of that stuff was really weighing me down. It was keeping me from doing some of the things I wanted to do. Or it was costing more than it was worth in terms of its benefit. I'll give you an example that comes off the top of my head, but I engaged in a real estate transaction some years ago, and as part of that transaction, I became the proud owner of a 42, I think it was a 42-foot sailboat, may have been 48-foot sailboat. It was a big sailboat. And I had that sailboat for about a year, and it really wasn't great. It cost me over $500 a month to keep it in a harbor and keep it berthed. It cost me several $100s a month on average to maintain it. And I think during that year's time, I went out on it maybe 2 or 3 times. I'm not a sailor. I love motorboats, but there's something, they always make it seem so fun and so romantic in movies that you're out on the sailboat and the wind is blowing in your hair and whatnot. But they don't tell you what happens when the wind stops blowing, and that is that you suddenly find yourself sitting out, 10 or 15 miles offshore, and you're just sitting there, and it's hot, and you're just hoping that at some point the wind starts to blow again. I didn't enjoy that. No, I didn't enjoy that. So yeah, there's an old saying that the 2 best days in a boat owner's life, the day they buy it and the day they sell it. I can definitely tell you that the day I sold the sailboat was the best day of the ownership experience that I had. But not getting too far off the subject here. I split my time. I have a house. It's not a big fancy house. I don't need a big fancy house. It's basically just me living there. And I have a cabin up in the mountains, and it is a true cabin. It's not some mansion or anything. It's 800 square feet, and it's completely off grid. And when I say completely off grid, I'm talking about we're using compost toilets. We're using solar with batteries for power, and I spend the vast majority of my time at the cabin. I love it. It's peaceful and quiet, and I've got bears and raccoons and all kinds of stuff running around outside at night. and it's just a place where I like to be. Cost of ownership is, well, it's paid for. Maintenance and upkeep is very minimal. I've owned houses at the beach that I hardly ever went to use. I'm not really a beach person. I like it sometimes a little bit, but certainly not enough to own a house there anymore. And I realized that after buying a house at the beach. Maintenance and upkeep on a oceanfront house is just astronomical, as anyone that's ever owned one can tell you. And being in North Carolina, there's the likelihood that every few years you're going to get wiped out by a hurricane. So there's a lot of hassle and a lot of just energy that you put into thinking about, what's the worst that can happen. So no, as I've gotten older, I have in fact found that I'm gravitating more towards what might be perceived as a minimalist lifestyle, which I think is kind of funny. I've honestly, financially I'm better off than I've ever been. I can pretty much do anything I want to do. But with that said, a lot of times now I see something and it's like, yeah, I don't really need that. Or I start thinking about, what it means. If I were to say I went out and bought a Ferrari, well, what does that mean? Well, it means that every time I drive it, and I park somewhere to go in and have dinner or go to a movie or whatever, I'm going to be thinking about, well, how badly is my car being vandalized? I've been through this, and it's not, it's just not all that it can be. With that said, I think it's kind of funny. I go years without buying new cars. My students have seen me when we back before the pandemic, when we could meet in person. I've met with students and I come driving up in literally a 33-year-old pickup truck, and they're just some of them are almost horrified. But I have this pickup truck. It serves me well. And I had an old Ford Taurus that I've been driving around, and it has served me well. But honestly, peer pressure got to me, and I'll tell you the truth. I went out New Year's Eve, and I bought a new car New Year's Eve, and then on New Year's Day I went out and I bought another new car. So every now and then my I don't know if it's my common sense evades me or what have you, but for those of you that may or may not see me this year, I am now driving around in 2 new vehicles. So the truck will be gone pretty soon. The old Ford Taurus will be gone pretty soon. I'm going to give them away. But I use vehicles for transportation. When I don't have any of my self-worth, my ego, whatnot is not tied up in the vehicles. They're tools to get me from point A to point B, and honestly, I tried to avoid buying anything with the thought that, again, I'm still planning on going to Thailand and probably spending a couple years traveling as soon as the pandemic-related issues subside and we can travel again. I did not want to go out and buy new vehicles and only to have them sit, in my garage for 2 years while I'm traveling, the world. Just didn't make sense to me. But by the same token, both my vehicles needed some help. Walking is too slow for me, and I was getting to the point where walking was a definite possibility. So yeah, I went out and bought 2 new vehicles, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But I was rambling a little bit there. But yeah, I'm minimalist just because, again, my future plans are to travel extensively. I said just a second ago for 2 years, but in all likelihood, I have trips and destinations in mind that will probably take me for the next 15 or 20 years. I anticipate spending, I'm going to say several months a year out of the country, out of the United States, for the foreseeable future, as soon as travel is possible once again. And so yeah, I think maybe my lifestyle right now is a reflection of the fact that I'm just trying to keep things as simple as possible. But again, how you live your life is up to you. But just understand that sometimes, to quote Spock from Star Trek, having is not always as pleasant as wanting. Or I think that's paraphrasing a Spock saying. But yeah, again, when you get that boat and you realize that it's just a big weight on your life, or you get that exotic car and you find the same thing, or the multiple houses and you find that you're not using them but you're still paying for them. Learn it for yourself, or learn it from me. Let my error and judgments educate you before you make the same error. It's up to you. But anyway, that's enough on the minimalist lifestyle. What is my most recent achievement business-wise? Okay, for those of you that don't know, I'll probably post these videos to a couple of different channels on YouTube. I have several channels. Some of the channels deal more with just general business topics, and I think that's probably where this question came from. I'll tell you, my recent business achievement, I would say, is actually happened over the past 12 months. I have a family member who was working in a job that they didn't like. They were working in a job that they were not trained for, whereas they had very specific training in another type of endeavor. Specifically, they were trained chef. So just before the pandemic hit, I agreed to help this family member open a food-based business, not necessarily a restaurant per se, but a food-based business. And we got it up and running. Things were going fairly well with it. I was pleased. I don't mean to hedge, it's what I was saying or the way I was saying it. I was pleased. I was satisfied with the progress it was making. And the pandemic hit. The pandemic caused the business to explode in a good way. Over a period of basically the first 45 days of the pandemic, and I'm going to say from mid-March until the end of April 2020, business quadrupled. We had to hire additional employees. And then in the summertime, we started looking at the possibility of expanding even further. And this was based on my recommendation, but we basically kept the original business running, but we started a couple of additional businesses that were running that would run and function out of the same space that we're already paying for, and they have done extremely well during the pandemic. Specifically, it was a food delivery type business. But we established two different brands, if you will, and this is under the framework of what in the food business now is called a ghost kitchen, where you have a kitchen that doesn't have a dining room attached to it, so you're not looking for walk-in, sit-down customers. You're not even looking for people who want to show up and do takeaway. You're looking at a food delivery model, and so we created three different brands, the original brand and then two additionals, that each could operate on its own, independently of the others, or they could actually collaborate, if you will, and kind of build off of each other. And that's what we did. I had a fairly modest initial investment in terms of the amount of money I put into it. There wasn't a lot of money involved, because we weren't fitting out a restaurant where that had to be attractive, and we weren't hiring staff for the most part, at least not a large number of staff. We didn't have a bunch of servers to hire. We didn't have a hostess and things of that nature. So in terms of how economically you can open up a food-based business, this was basically a model of doing it really very much on the cheap. And then shortly after we started the two additional brands, I was able to pull my initial capital investment out and which was good. I mean, it didn't harm the business at all. The business was making a lot of money, and it's continued to make a lot of money. There is a lot of room here for growth. The family member and I are now talking about the possibility, excuse me, of franchising this. And I think, gosh, if we franchise it, I think there's potential there for it to be really enormous in terms of its revenue production. But from a standpoint of just a business, this business overall probably involves less physical labor than any other food business I've ever been involved with. And I'm trying to think if I need to explain that, but for what it's worth, I was a certified chef, and I guess I'm still certified, I don't know, but I was a serious chef for 20 years. And I traveled around the world. I trained other chefs. I opened up restaurants all over the world. And usually restaurants are extremely labor intensive. This one, or this ghost kitchen, not so much. It required less effort to open than almost any type of launch I've ever been involved with that involved food. And now that's up and running, there just aren't a lot of moving pieces to it. It's worked very well. So the ability to help a family member here was extremely important to me. And financially, I think we hit a home run. All of these businesses, all three of these, look to have the characteristics that I would look for in a business that is going to thrive post-pandemic world. Even when people go back to eating in dining rooms and whatnot, I think we will have a business model here that will still be very much in demand. And so yeah, I would say that is my most recent achievement business-wise. But I will give you one more that is that may be more to your point, or more of greater interest to you. And I mentioned this in a previous video a few weeks ago, and I'm going to do a couple of videos about this in the future. But one, I added 21 new products to my Amazon lineup during the pandemic, and I did so in a way that was not in keeping with my past product selection methods. I went and heard a gentleman speak who has 20,000 products on Amazon, and I was just really, it was just fascinating to hear this guy talk. 99% of what he sells on Amazon is drop shipped. He basically has the entire catalog of several Chinese manufacturers listed on Amazon. And he puts no effort into the listings whatsoever. He doesn't worry about keywords. He doesn't worry about punctuation, grammar, anything else. His product photographs are all supplied by the manufacturer, and they are pretty horrible overall. I mean, he would agree with this. But with that said, he has enough products there that his income is significant. When you have 20,000 products on Amazon, you're going to sell something every day. There's just no way you're not going to. And he sells a lot of something every single day. He does not engage in any type of advertising. He doesn't use, he doesn't use any advertising. He basically just throws this against the wall and sees what works. I wasn't ready to quite go down that road, but there were some things about what he said that really intrigued me. Again, this goes back to my nature of being kind of a business geek and looking at different types of business models. So, I put 21 new products on Amazon, and I did so with as little effort as I could possibly do. I did allocate some advertising budget to each product, but I honestly, I didn't use all of the advertising budget on any single product. I'm not trying to, I'm trying to think of how to keep this from getting in the weeds. Again, this is a subject matter that is going to be of interest long term. This is a project, if you will, or a process that I intend to engage in again this year. I'm going to add more products using the same type of system, if you will, or process. So I want to cover this in more detail in other videos, but for something that I put very little time in and very little money in, I am extremely proud of the investment or the return on my investment that I've gotten from these 21 new products. Very interesting, and more to come in another video. And let's see here. One more question. What Amazon business model do I think is best? And I suppose they're talking about, probably Amazon FBA versus Amazon FBM, or fulfilled by merchant. I use them both. You could do one or the other, but I think as you grow as a merchant, you will probably see that doing FBM is not a difficult process, and it's not something that you should be afraid of, especially if you're selling higher ticket items that don't sell in huge volume. I have no problem, and I actually occasionally do this. I have somebody who is supposed to do it, but I don't have a problem going to UPS or going to FedEx once a week to drop off packages, when I know every package I drop off is going to produce $200 in profit for me. That's not a problem. I'm happy to make that trip. I wouldn't want to do FBM for something where I was selling 30 units a day. That's why Amazon FBA is there. Let's use it where it should be used. But Amazon FBM, I think it kind of fell by the wayside for a lot of people over the last 10 years as FBA just became the rage. But I see now that the tides are turning and people are going back to looking at FBM once again, and they should. I never stopped. My first business, on Amazon was FBM, because it predates FBA quite a bit, and I have no intention of going away from FBM at all. I don't put any distinction between a product I'm looking at that I may have to supply myself or ship myself versus a product that I'm going to have Amazon ship. It's all about profit. It's all about margins for me. So I would say I don't have a preference for FBA versus FBM, but I would also say there are other avenues. You can run a blog and do affiliate marketing with Amazon. You can publish books on Amazon. You can do printing on Amazon, T-shirts, mugs, things of that nature. Print on demand. That's what I was looking for. You can do, there are many different ways you can interact with Amazon. It doesn't mean you have to do them all. It doesn't mean that you should feel bad. Maybe FBA is just not your thing. Maybe FBM is not your thing, but print on demand, it just speaks to you. You love it. You're successful at it. Then by all means, scale it, grow it, and be happy. So I don't think there is one that's best. I think it's you can interact with Amazon on multiple levels. I think you need to find one that kind of resonates with your own personality, and just go from there. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Do your own thing. Be happy, and life is good. So let's see here. That's it for this one. I have one more question here. But I didn't want this video to go this long. It's gone almost 30 minutes, and this question by itself, it's a big question. It's got like 5 parts to it, so I'll leave this for another day. I appreciate you watching. I hope these questions have answered some of your questions, or I hope these answers have answered some of your questions. If you have not done so, please hit like and subscribe. We'd love to have you as a new subscriber. If you have questions of your own, that's where the comment section comes into play. Just drop down below, put in your own question. Love to hear from you. And for right now, that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.